Hello and welcome back to another vidIQ live stream. I'm Dan, joined as always by Rob, and today, once again, our special guest, Miss Emily Baker. How are you?
Hello, glad to be here. Thanks for having me back. Yes. I love getting to do legal chats because we get to like blend my nerdiness of like law nerdiness and YouTube nerdiness. Very excited.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to vidIQ. Wow, we have prepared so much for this live stream. I mean, it may look as if we all just came onto this live stream a minute before we press a button, but that is not the case. We've got so much prepared and so much to talk about. Isn't that right, Dan?
We have all kinds of topics to talk about. Some of them YouTube related, others also YouTube related. My notes are extensive. It's just the word YouTube over and over and over again. And
my notes say copyright as well. YouTube and copyright over and over and over again.
So for a little bit of background on this live stream, every Wednesday we bring you some YouTube related topics and then we do some Q&A. Today is primarily going to be a Q&A day. We'll get to that in a little while. And then the first Wednesday of every month, Emily joins us for a legal themed Q&A. So when we do get to that section of the live stream, we'll be asking for your questions, but we would like them to be related to that topic of legal challenges on YouTube or just legal questions and curiosities, if you will. So before we get into that, maybe we should say hello to some people. Rob, who are you saying hello to?
Sure. I just want to add as well, this is a teaser sneak peek. I have prepared a mini game, which we're going to play at some point. But you're going to have to continue watching because that game is going to be introduced at some random point. And yeah, I think this is going to be quite entertaining. I mean, I always try and introduce games and they always fail on the live streams, but this time, I think this is going to work. And it's going to be so fun because I'm not playing it. It's Dan and Emily who have to take part.
Oh, fantastic.
So there you go. Right, I'm going to say hello to the following. And I assume there's a lot of law nerds in here because I'm seeing purple hearts. So hello to Christopher Fanalways. I'm also saying hello to Lynn2574, Danny Mitchell, Mandy S, Helicopters and More, Jez, Hydro Plays, Ryan Outdoors, and yeah, all of the moderators who are joining us as usual. Thank you very much for your hard work as always.
Emily, who would you like to say hello to?
Absolutely. Hello, law nerds. I see you all in the chat. Hello, Hector Hernandez, Avilama. Who else do we see? Sandy and Raincloud and Lady Oren and Therese M. And who else do I see? Christopher Fan, always. It's good to see you guys. Mama T. Hello, law nerds.
Hello, everybody. I will say hello to, we have Benny, Rabbit Hole Clicker, we have Hash, Zinzaris, and all the moderators. Thank you so much for being here, by the way. Short Reviews, Multimedia Artist, and how about one more, Beverly Black. How's it going, everybody? So yeah, before we get into the Q&A portion of today's live stream, perhaps we should talk a little bit about the subject at hand. And that would be YouTube Shorts, which we love talking about, and a feature that popped up a little while back where all of a sudden on all of our videos, there was a little box ticked that was not there before that allows people to, as we understand it or understood it at first at the time, hey, anyone can use this content in their content. And everyone was rightly confused.
It's very confusing.
Short sampling allows people to create shorts using parts of this video. Turning this off will permanently delete all shorts sampling its content. Not all videos can opt out. And then you can click to learn more.
Not all videos can opt out. I love that they don't define that literally
yes.
at all.
So that
there's several billion videos on YouTube. Some of them are not going to be opt out, but we're not telling you which ones. There's probably about 100 million videos in there, but you know, you'll have to find them yourself.
Right. And I don't know if the learn more page has become any more clear?
So I have actually loaded all of this up. So I'll just leave this here. People can read it while we're chatting, maybe. So yeah, I'll just zoom in there, and that might help you all.
So first things first.
I'm extremely dissatisfied by this experience, by the way. So I'm just going to click that. There we go.
First things first, Rob. What were your initial thoughts when you saw this pop up?
So my initial thoughts when I saw this was, that sounds like something that's going to impact every single creator on the platform, and YouTube haven't told us about it, and I'm very annoyed about it, which is why I made a video on it. Then as I started to learn a bit more about it only being audio sampling and that you can only use it in shorts, I was kind of a little bit more, okay, this isn't probably as bad as it sounds. But having said that, this is now a Pandora's box that's been opened. It's never going to get closed, and that box is probably only going to get full of more things. For example, I think ultimately we're at a point where it's audio sampling, but it's only a matter of time, surely, before people can also sample the entire video clip from somebody else to bring it parity with TikTok. So it feels like a soft introduction of something that's going to be very significant probably in the next year or so. But those are just my personal thoughts. I don't know whether that's true or not in the long term.
Emily, what was your kind of reaction to this? And have you already been getting a lot of questions about it?
I have not gotten a ton of questions about it because I've been covering so many lawsuits that are moving so fast. I haven't gotten a ton of creator questions. I really think they click on the vidIQ videos and are like, all right, I know what I need to know. So I have not gotten a ton of questions about how this plays with copyright. And that might be because people went and read the term service, maybe, or it might be because people are like, what can I really do about it anyway? I'm not going to worry about it too much. And what happens if I tick this box, if I don't tick this box? And we're already seeing people's videos getting used in samples in shorts. There's entire shorts channels that are just clipping down other creators that have nothing to do with that creator and are sharing their content. So this already happens. It's already happening. I think they're trying to allow, when they get to video, for this like video and video parody with the reacts or live reacts that they do on TikTok, and they just introduced on Reels not that long ago. So I'm not surprised. And then it has to balance between what copyright says and what the YouTube terms of service say, which ultimately are what YouTube abides by, ideally, though they're getting sued over that too.
Yeah, I've got the terms of service up here. When I was trying to figure this out, Emily, and I'm not a legal expert, so I wasn't sure if this is what it strictly meant here, but I thought this is what connected it most to other creators, allowing other creators to use your content. So you also grant each user of the service a worldwide non-exclusive royalty-free license to access your content through the service. And I think that basically means viewers watching your content.
Generally.
And to use that content, including reproduce, distribute, prepare, derivative works, display and perform, only as enabled by features of the service. So that's what I thought that part of the paragraph was. That allows other creators to audio sample, put it on their YouTube shorts because it's all still self-contained within the YouTube platform. But that's my novice interpretation of it.
No, I think that's until we either get a court challenge or we get YouTube explaining it more. I think that's exactly what YouTube's attorneys meant. Yeah. But this also allows for reaction videos of a YouTube video on another YouTube channel. And we see this a lot. I just covered the fair use, one of the older fair use cases with the H3 podcast, where Ethan and Gila Klein and Matt Haas, they reacted and made fun of a video he had uploaded to YouTube. And then he sued them for doing that, and they won their fair use defense in that case. But this is also part of the terms of service. Now, terms of service are what you're allowed to do on the platform. Copyright law exists outside of the platform. So there are circumstances where you could be within your rights under terms of service, but still outside of the rights of copyright. It's just going to be a lot harder to get to, because if you're within the rights of terms of service, YouTube isn't flagging it for you and saying, hey, somebody's using your content here and there. And when it comes to short clip videos, we haven't seen challenges to the use and fair use of copyrighted works on TikTok and in Reels yet. And we don't know how the courts are going to react to that. Is reusing somebody's audio and overlaying it with your own work going to be enough of a transformative use for the courts when we're talking about 1-minute clips? And it might very well be where the courts say, yes, you bringing your own spin to it or bringing your own character to an audio clip is enough. You reacting side by side within the platform is enough. So the challenges are going to come at some point, but I think they're going to come from the companies that have the money to bring them. So will we see Disney or, Pixar, also Disney, or another large movie studio or music distributor bringing these kind of claims? I don't know. Or are they just going to try to license it and get paid for what's going to be used anyway? That's probably more likely what will happen.
Do you think, by the very nature of the fact that you can only use the audio of another person's content, and so you have to introduce some video footage as well, that's transformative enough? Or I guess what somebody could end up doing is just having a single image of like the cover art of some music, and I guess that wouldn't be transformative enough. That's just almost repurposing the content and adding more copyright issues to it. Yeah,
I think it goes a long way in making it transformative. I'm not, when I did the analysis on this and tried to think through like what are the different ways that this can go, I took it from like, okay, audio only, but audio and video, because I think that's coming. This doesn't limit it to audio. So under terms of use, they can expand the use if they want to, and I think at some point they will. I think they will figure out how to do that. I think that's probably a tech problem at this point, trying to do it. But transformative goes by the thing. And this is the hard part with the courts, is there's no bright line rule. It's not like this is transformative, this isn't. It's, hey, we have to look at it, and then we have to decide if this particular use in this particular circumstance is transformative or not. The more you change a thing, the more likely it is to be transformative. So yes, overlaying your own video over audio, more likely to be transformative. It's just hard to say. And I should say, not legal advice. If y'all are worried about it, if you have particular work that you do, consult with an attorney who's familiar with copyright and social media, because attorneys who are not well familiar with social media are going to be like, I don't know, no one can use that. It's like, that's not strictly how that goes. So if you are a creator that relies heavily on this and are well monetized, it is time to have a little chit chat with a CPA and an attorney. That is my disclaimer. We may proceed.
Well, let me just give you one more example of where I think there's a scary backdoor for music labels, content producers, and so on. So this is going to be a bit of a labored explanation, but let's say Lady Gaga's music label or publisher has signed an agreement with YouTube, which allows creators to use her content in clips. Fine, all good. You use the audio sampling, whatever. But then there is another artist, let's say AC/DC. I mean, this is coming to the top of my head, and their music label have not signed an agreement with YouTube. But what a creator can do is upload AC/DC's music as a short, and if they somehow dodge copyright content ID, then by the nature of it being a short, somebody can audio sample that content through YouTube's tools. So it's almost as if the original uploader of the AC/DC music is in the wrong, but the person who used YouTube's tool to audio sample AC/DC's song is in the right, because they're in the terms of service of YouTube. I know that sounded really complicated, but that's law for you.
Yeah, it's not super. It's just it's what's kind of the touch point of the use, and then who's responsible for it, because YouTube's producing the tools that allow the down the line creators to then keep using that clip. And we see this all the time on both Reels and TikTok, right? You'll go to a sound and you're like, oh, that's a sample. That's not from the original artist. That's coming from this other creator who uploaded the sound. I think YouTube would put the onus on the original uploader and be like, you violated the copyright, you deal with it. But then AC/DC's label's allowed to come back and be like, well, how many times has this been distributed? And at least there's tools to track down how much that audio has been used. I think labels are, look, I know a lot of people think labels are inherently evil. Their contracts are very difficult with artists, but they do put a lot of money behind the artists. So it's up for debate, I think. But I think labels are coming around to the part that streaming rights have to be a part of their business model because it's going to be out there anyway, and they might as well monetize it. And I think we're going to see that the reins on that continue to loosen about where it can be used, as long as they get paid. I don't think they care too much.
The thing that I saw that when this first came out and everyone was talking about it was what we always see whenever YouTube releases anything, and it's just fear, complete and utter chaos across all of social. What is this nonsense at YouTube? How dare you? How can you do this? And whenever I see YouTube do anything now, my initial thing is to step back and go, well, wait a minute. What's the benefit here? What's the good news? Because they do this stuff for a reason. And I have to say, I think keeping all this on the platform is the best option because people are going to use other people's content anyway. At least now there's a way to do it the right way. And I hope, anyway, I haven't seen anyone using this yet, and I'm sure plenty of examples are out there, but I would hope that there is some kind of callback to the original creator when you sample somebody's work. And that way everyone kind of wins, everyone's kind of getting a little bit of credit for the work. Do you guys have you seen anybody using this yet?
So I haven't seen anybody using it. Well, I have. What happens is when you're watching a short, because still Shorts has been rolled out to different people all across the globe. Sometimes you have to VPN to different countries to get different access to the different parts of a tool. So if you watch a Shorts and in the bottom right-hand corner, you see some audio waves animating, you can tap on that and it takes you back to the source audio. Right. And that's when people are using popular music, and rightly so on YouTube. But I think eventually that audio sampling button is going to appear on every short because you can, I think, theoretically use audio from every single short, because when we talk about the shorts permissions, I think it only applies to long form content. It doesn't apply to shorts. In the terms of permissions, anybody can use anybody's audio from shorts, as I understand it, Dan.
Yeah, I've definitely seen the waveform. I just don't know, because it's always related to some music or something. So I haven't seen anyone sampling a video.
Right.
So I've seen it now on where people are just talking. It's just the monologue from the short, even if it doesn't have any music. Okay. I've seen it in that case. And again, here's an example of where I uploaded some royalty-free music from artlist.io, and then somebody could use my short and sample that music, even though it wasn't technically mine.
Yeah.
And that's where it goes. If you pay for a license to use music and you upload it to Shorts, that's one license that you've paid to use music, but now it can be reused indefinitely. And those are the sorts of things we're going to have to see. And then what is non-commercial use, what's commercial use, and there's going to be more with everything with social media. There's going to be a continued refining of where the law bumps up against it, but really until somebody gets sued, it might not be strictly within copyright, but people are like, we're going to give it a roll and hope for the best. But I think intellectual property on social media is going to be one of the growing areas of law. And whenever people are like, should I go to law school? I'm like, how well do you know technology, and are you interested in intellectual property? Because I think that those are the areas where we're going to start seeing lots of growth in law, and people are talking about blockchaining trademarked materials and how to track back. And I think we'll start to see that perhaps in copyrighted materials as well, how we track back and protect intellectual property, where really we're growing up with younger generations of well, what do you mean I can't just borrow anything from anywhere and use it? Because that's what they're very used to on platforms like TikTok and Instagram Reels.
Can you see that now on my screen?
I can.
Yeah, so Dan, can you see can you see that?
Yeah, and I'm familiar with that button.
That is the audio sampling. This is BlockFacts, Dan.
Okay.
So this is just his commentary. So if I tap this now, hang on, it's a bit difficult to do. So yeah, I think, look, you can already see that 3 other creators have used that audio from BlockFacts.
Oh, so it works both ways. It shows you other people using that audio.
Yes. So that's when you were talking about how to credit the original creator. Well, that's how it's done. So now I could watch the original creator's short here.
Right.
My finger's not working. But yeah, I think that's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah,
But
and
it
that's
does
how
mean that-
TikTok works.
It does mean that anybody can use anybody's content, I think, in this new free YouTube world.
Yeah. So am I the only one who isn't scared of this is my question, because I feel like it's very easy to get negative on this topic, and I'm sure we're going to see plenty of questions and stuff that lead to those thoughts as well. But just before we get into Q&A, I do think, because it tends to happen anyway, it's a good thing. But am I alone in that?
I think there's a different expectation from YouTube creators, especially those who've been on the platform for 5 to 10 years, and they have a different attitude when it comes to freely sharing their content. And then all of a sudden, this new YouTube Shorts allows any creator to possibly grab your content, whereas before you knew it was protected. Whereas on, I think TikTok is a much younger platform, where I think creators are more willing to embrace this idea of sharing, then it's more acceptable. So I think there's going to need to be a mentality mindset shift. And then if it comes to the point where people can share or use videos, and then how it's monetized, that's the next big question. I think that's when it starts to really get interesting and potentially a little scary for some creators. But I think for 95% of creators, as you say, Dan, it's either not going to affect them or it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm not really surprised or scared, but I've read the YouTube terms of service a lot because I comment on them a lot. So I'm aware of the amount of things YouTube can do with your content. YouTube can monetize your content even if you don't. YouTube can monetize your content if you're not monetized. They are adhesion contracts, which means if you're on the platform, you agree and you have no bargaining power. I don't know if that will change across social media platforms as time goes on. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to be on YouTube, you don't have to be. And it is a choice to upload content or not upload content. And I still believe people get to make that choice. YouTube pays me more than the district attorney's office did. I'm really happy to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So I see it from that way. I also feel like we're getting into this like Gen X versus Gen Z, where Gen X is like, it's my copyright. They're like the new boomers. I'm Gen X, and then Gen Z is like, what do you mean we can't just use everything? It's fine. Like everybody uses everything for everything. It's just stop complaining. Like it feels like the older generation on YouTube is getting okay boomered by the TikTok generation. And it's pretty funny to me, but I get it. And I think that it might change the way content creators choose to upload. And we're already seeing content creators put things behind paywalls on Patreon and choosing what content is free and what isn't. And might we see more of that because of this? I don't know, because shorts are such a good way to grow.
Right. It's just the matter of like the changing times. YouTube's going to constantly change. It's going to constantly grow. I love these conversations that people have too, and they get real mad about YouTube, and they're like, well, someone's going to compete with them eventually, and someone's going to topple them. Well, if they get that big, they're going to face the same exact challenges, except the stakes are even higher now because YouTube and Twitch and other platforms have set up, they've already walked this path, and the law has already had to catch up and figure out what to do with these problems. So now you're going to face even harder issues. So I don't think this gets any easier. I think it just becomes more fair and more legal and I think it's pretty cool that there are at least the powers that be are exploring opportunities for us to sample other content, music, things like that, where they could just shut it all down and say, no, you have to make everything in-house, or you can't, or license it, or you can't do anything.
Or go to TikTok.
Yeah.
Run along. They've already, because behind the scenes of this stuff, and we get glimpses into this, but if you don't work for a corporation like this, the behind the scenes legal negotiations that have to happen to get the licensing agreements to allow something like a TikTok, a Musical.ly, Instagram Music, these are massive companies with fleets of lawyers negotiating with other massive companies with fleets of lawyers. Ultimately, so they can profit off of us using their service, but so we can also profit off of using their service. It's something I can't go negotiate with a recording label and be like, hey, I sure would like to use this music in my videos and have them be fully monetized and just pay you a cute little licensing fee so I could make dances up and then end up on the Tonight Show doing like, I don't know, this or something. But you can't do that.
Folks, can you clip this now? Can we make sure that we put this on a shot of Emily D. Baker trying to dance, please?
Do we have clips, Rob? Have we unlocked those
we
yet?
haven't got them yet, I don't think. No.
I keep seeing them on more channels. I'm getting
we're not a
excited.
gaming channel, unfortunately.
Either way, I think it benefits everybody, and I think that there's this. I think the people that get angry want YouTube to be altruistically something other than a very large corporation with a bottom line. And when you keep in mind that YouTube is a very large corporation with a bottom line, you can go, oh, what is this corporation choosing to do in their own corporate best interest? And how do I also get to benefit? And I focus on the how do I also get to benefit, because I get to I love YouTube. I've always loved being on YouTube, even before when my channel was 300 subscribers. I still loved being on YouTube. It's unlike anything else. And that's something that has value to me. So I choose to still upload content here. If that stopped having value to me, I could go somewhere else.
Two things I just wanted to add. First of all, far more importantly, can we have a hashtag boomer, hashtag Gen X, hashtag millennial, whatever demographic you are in the chat? And also,
you don't leave out Gen Z. They'll come for you, Rob.
Sorry, Gen Z.
They'll make you middle part your hair. They're going to steal your skinny jeans.
I don't know what the gens are. And then just, I always, as Dan said, you said this a little earlier, you step back. I mean, just think about it from this point of view. There's a person in Vancouver, BC, talking to a person in South Carolina, talking to a person in an unknown disclosed location. And we're talking about YouTube growing pains, which allow us to do these things. Like 15 years ago, there was no form of communication and distribution platform that allowed anybody to, with their own skills, passion, and knowledge, share it with an entire world. And the fact that we can do this now, even if there are one or two growing pains to get it to democratize it even more, is surely a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, should we get into some Q&A?
Absolutely. We've got some elder millennials in the chat. We've got some Zennials. We've got some Gen X. Lots of Gen X. We've got a gamer after 50 said Gen Z bordering on boomer. Why are words hard today? Which I think is hilarious. So I love seeing you guys in the chat with this. It's fantastic.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, everyone who has hit like so far. And if you haven't hit like, well, we're going to try and convince you now with some Q&A. So
yeah, it's against terms of service if you don't click the like button. I don't know if you've not read that. But, yeah.
Emily, is this true?
Not legal advice.
Is this true?
It's against the inherent and explicit content of us providing content for you that you are then agreeing that you will hit the like button by being here. Does that work?
It's yes.
Shall I set the slow mode? Is this going to help us a bit?
Yeah, slow mode would probably help. Now, right. As we said before, we all have the opportunity here to have Emily on once a month. So we want to make sure that the Q&A is as legal focused as possible. So if you're asking your questions and you've been asking forever, like, why are they ignoring my question? It's probably because there are a lot of other questions ahead of you that are more focused on today's topic at hand. So please keep that in mind. I can't promise we'll get to general YouTube questions today. But join us next Wednesday, because that'll be a little more, I guess, general, if that's the case. All right. Has anyone seen anything?
Right. Okay. I need to start scrolling up and down to find some questions.
Well, legal questions are coming in. Can we answer Darren's general info question? Because I'm actually curious about it too.
Sure. How can shorts negatively impact your channel, especially when you create long form content, but then suddenly start posting shorts on the same channel?
I think this gets asked a lot.
Well,
why is my face so big? Also, this is a YouTube expert question.
You're the hero right now.
It's true.
Well, but no, because I need to be the smallest person in this, because I know both Emily and Dan, you have experience of this on your channels, blending shorts and long form content. So maybe start with your experiences of it.
Well, in my experience, and you guys know me, I'm going to be vague. The channel that I've been experimenting with has benefited so much from mixing shorts and long form content that now I don't even think I'm going to use it for shorts anymore, unless I'm just like really wanting to try something. Because what happened was I was focused on shorts with the channel, and I always made sure that the shorts and the longs were of the same niche, right? But I was so focused on shorts that I started to build up a regular audience, and then my videos stopped getting a lot of traction from the short shelf. In fact, they got more traction from browse. And once I saw that scale, kind of tip, and I'm not the only person this has happened to, by the way. I started experimenting with long form content, and to my surprise, a lot of people came to watch the long form content. I didn't have to rely on the short shelf anymore. And I can't promise this will work for everybody. I think it depends on the niche that you're in. I think if you're in a very, very competitive shorts niche like Minecraft, you're going to have a really, really hard time because there's just so much content to fill up the Minecraft void that the short shelf has. There's so many creators and new ones every single day. And if you're in a less competitive niche, I think there's just more of a demand for that content. And then there's more opportunities for people to see your shorts over and over again, right? So if you have 100 shorts and you're one of like a few creators making shorts on that subject, people are going to get to know you, whether they like it or not. And then there's a better opportunity for YouTube to push your regular long form content to them. So that's been my theory. And I've been able to prove it right for myself over and over and over again. But I'd really like to hear your experience there, Emily.
I have used shorts as a way to complement my other content because I don't even do long form content. I think I do hyper long form streaming content. It is not, when people say long form and they mean like 15 minutes, I'm like, that's adorable. So I do, 2+ hour long form live content, but shorts I found help people catch up because I do talk about a lot of different lawsuits. I talk about a lot of different things, and shorts allow my audience to keep up with like, here's the quick snip on what's going on with this. I found that it gets shared. I've found that those end up getting pushed out differently than just the short shelf. I don't really rely on the short shelf, but I can definitely tell when a video has been picked up on the short shelf. Overall, my channel grows best with live content. And then my videos that aren't lives don't always perform as well in the short term, but perform well long-term through search. So it really just depends on your niche. I have a very specific niche. I have a very loyal group of law nerds that will watch what I do. They have their notifications on. They hit the videos when they go up. But then the discoverability does grow as other content creators reference my videos. And that's actually one of the things that grew my channel is I had a few shorts that other content creators were able to reference in their videos commenting on YouTube related lawsuits. So I find my content is always a point of reference and a resource. And so if I can give people different resources to pull from, it grows my channel. So once, the H3 podcast was watching one of my shorts on H3, then I'm getting DMs on Twitter. Then they're like, can you come on? And then my channel grew by 30,000 subs in a month. So I now have law nerds and foot soldiers in my audience. And that has happened with other creators too, because they're more likely to discover me through a 1 or 2 minute video, well, a 1 minute short, than through sitting through a 2-hour video to try to find the part that they need. So
all very different experiences. I mean,
I don't know if I don't know what negative impact means.
Yeah, I'll just add that YouTube is not going to introduce a tool or a feature that is designed to negatively impact your channel, almost as in sending a Trojan horse into your channel and then destroying it from the inside, which is kind of what I think many creators feel shorts might do. This is just a random example of when I tried to use shorts on the vidIQ channel. And even though it is a video of less than a minute and it's vertical format, I still can't get the shorts traffic. Look, I'm only getting 10%. I'm still getting traffic from everywhere else. I think just because of the nature of a vidIQ channel, which has such a strong presence on in long form content, and not to perform an act of treason here, Emily, but the Legal Eagle is a very good example of a channel that's blending long form content and shorts at the same time, whereas their video input increased exponentially through shorts, and their views reflected that. But that was with a channel that was already established as a long form channel as well.
Just to follow up, Darren said negative impact in the sense that when people love long form content, but then I suddenly start posting short form content.
I think you got to do both. And you've got to have a purpose for doing both. I have a very clear purpose when I do shorts. And the purpose for me is to give a very quick synopsis, or it's something that happened that doesn't need to be a long video. A new court filing, everybody's like, what happened with this? I can do that in a minute and get it out there, or I can do a background. It has to fit with your other content. That's what's worked well for me. And I think when you reference Legal Eagle, I know to some of LawTube, he's Voldemort, but with Legal Eagle's shorts, they are well edited, they're researched, and they're easy bite-sized grabs. And his channel does well, but I know he does not have the community that other channels grow. So it depends on your purpose. He gets a ton of views. I'm sure he gets good sponsorships. I know he's part of Renee Ritchie's content, like paid content platform. I forget what it's called, but there's not a community there that I see on other content creators that blend their content, because his other social medias don't have any engagement. So it just depends on what you're trying to create. And I think for how-to channels, looking at how a how-to channel can grow with shorts, vidIQ is a great example. Legal Eagle is a great example. He really is a how-to channel for legal. My channel's more personality driven.
I'll say that. Nope, I lost it. I had something I was going to say. Oh, wait, no, I keep losing it. Maybe it'll come back to me. In any case, there's another point I want to make sure that I make. Like I said earlier, we want to make sure that our questions have, some kind of relevance to the topic at hand today. I know the title might be a little bit confusing because I talk about shorts in the title, but with Emily here, we can ask questions about copyright and things like that as well. So don't be afraid to do that. What'd you find here, Rob?
So I guess this is a legal question. I don't use this myself, but was wondering how legal it is to buy views, subscribers through things like Fiverr. Can you get into trouble for it? I guess my, again, novice answer would be it's not illegal, but YouTube are going to throw you off the YouTube because it's against terms of service. It's
against terms of service. For all the social platforms, buying engagement is against terms of service. And I understand why for YouTube, because when you look at the purpose behind a thing, so one of my kind of philosophies, and Dan touched on this earlier, one of the philosophies on my channel is understand, evaluate, change. And so understand what the thing is, evaluate if that works for you, and then change it if you want to change it, change how you interact with it if you want to change it. But understanding why YouTube does that, YouTube is selling essentially your channel in a group with other channels, and YouTube is selling that to advertisers. So if you are somehow messing with your views, your subscribers, then YouTube can be selling something that's fraudulent. So that's why YouTube protects that and says no buying subs. And we know creators that do it. You can see that it's happened on channels. YouTube not enforcing their rules in a kind of systematic and consistent way is starting to come back at them. There's actually a lawsuit going on right now about YouTube not enforcing its repeat offender policy for people who falsely copyright claim videos. And I'm fascinated by following it to see what happens. But you can be thrown off the platform. You can be completely demonetized, and you can be, like, not just your channel, but you as the creator, blocked from the platform. So yes, you can get in trouble. Also, what is the point of buying views and subscribers?
Ultimately, yeah.
If you guys want a really good example of what this physically can look like, I watched a video today actually from Ryan Walsh. He's another YouTube growth creator, and he literally bought 1,000 subscribers on Fiverr and did a day-by-day experiment showing exactly what happened to the channel in the time that this person was actively trying to get them subscribers, and all the things it didn't do to help them grow, just to prove the point. This is a pointless endeavor. Don't do it. But yeah, I just wanted to add that.
I think this is the closest term of service which covers that, in that it says paying people or providing them with incentives to increase video views, likes or dislikes, or to increase the channel subscribers, or otherwise manipulate metrics in any manner. And there may be another term of service, but I always
this is the one I come back to. But the thing is, I always wonder how giveaways plays with that language.
Yeah.
Because giveaways require often you to like, you to engage, or for you to subscribe to a channel. So I always wonder how giveaways that involve that type of participation play with that terms of service. YouTube doesn't seem to enforce it in that way, but the language is there that they could. If you say, hey, I'm going to give a subscriber, not to pick on Phil DeFranco, but I'm giving a subscriber $5,000 this month, but you have to be subscribed. Is that incentivizing people to subscribe with money? I don't know. Again, YouTube, I don't think has made that clear about how giveaways work legally on their platform when you're incentivizing a giveaway through metrics like that.
What about this one, Emily? I was fascinated by this when I first saw it. This is obviously Mr. Beast, huge. I'll try and pronounce this correctly. Philanthropic.
I just see Dan's
creator.
eyeballs. Sorry, Dan's killing me.
And so I think on a video, he was talking about, if you subscribe to my channel, I will donate 10 cents to a charity. So it's for a very good cause. But when I was looking at this, I was still thinking, that's still, again, it doesn't matter who's financially benefiting from this, whether it's a business or a charity, you're still trying to manipulate the metrics. And I was always curious why this might not have been pulled up. Is it just because it's Mr. Beast?
I don't know. I thought that too when I saw this, because essentially it is telling people that you're paying for subscribers. Yeah. So I know that it's a clickbaity gimmick, and Mr. Beast does a lot of gimmicks with money. But that term of service that we had pulled up is very, very clear on manipulating metrics. So this is a thing I talk about with law a lot that can be difficult. It doesn't matter if you like the result versus don't like the result. It can still be a problem. You can like Mr. Beast and still go, ooh, but is that a problem under terms of service? Even though I like the result that the money goes to charity, it can be both things. It can be a problem under terms of service, and you can still like the result and want him to be allowed to do it. So I think under the terms that we read, that could be a terms of service issue. I don't know how YouTube gets around it other than they make a ton of money off of Mr. Beast's videos. And YouTube has widely been criticized for perhaps allowing larger creators that they make more money off of to slide in the things that they do. And this feeling that a smaller creator might get binged for it, but a larger creator won't. And that's where the transparency and how YouTube applies their terms of service becomes an issue. But again, in a terms of service, and I used to write terms of service for websites when I was just doing consulting work, the terms of service also generally will have a waiver provision saying, if we don't enforce this, it doesn't void these terms. So YouTube retains the discretion to enforce them or not. How they do that, I think we'll start to see lawsuits saying how they enforce it borders on perhaps discriminatory behavior because they pick some channels and not others. If Steven Crowder does sue YouTube, and I haven't seen that filed yet, I think this is some of the arguments that he might make, that the rules are being applied unfairly based on discriminatory practices. We'll see if that's true or not.
I guess we'll find out.
I guess we'll find out.
Sorry, Rob. I just wanted to grab this one really quick because I think we don't talk about how this works every week for anyone who's like new. So real quick, this is our weekly Q&A live stream. So every week, Rob and I are here, and then we have a guest sometimes, and sometimes we don't. We'll talk about vidIQ tools. We'll talk about how we can use them to grow YouTube channels, or sometimes we'll pick a subject and we'll all talk about it and then do Q&A about it. So that's what we're doing today. But we do this every week, and Rob and I are the ones you'll see. And then on Tuesdays, we do channel audits every week. So just some
people have asked if we should have like whether it's a quarterly or a monthly, have a financial expert on as well. So that might be interesting. If anybody knows anyone or wants to suggest somebody who would like to join us, then we'd love to have a regular on, like it'd be Emily's Lawyer Week, and then we'll have now you're in trouble with the law. Here's how to pay for all of this.
And then we can have a big panel and talk about the business side of the law plus the money stuff. Because that's where stuff gets really fun. I love talking law and money stuff. It's really, really fun. You can do really cool stuff with businesses in the US. Anyway, question.
Sparky Crossing. If you give someone your shorts video with your permission, will they get a copyright claim or RD? Or would YouTube not notice at all? So just to clear this up, if that shorts permission is ticked, then forget about copyright in any way, shape, or form. It's not going to be content ID'd. You're allowing somebody to use your content in that sense. If somebody wanted to use someone else's content when that checkbox is unticked, they would have to download your video, re-upload it, then there would be a content ID claim and so on. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier, when if you use YouTube's tools to copy, redistribute, etc., someone else's content, then there's going to be no automated content ID system in place. But that doesn't mean to suggest that it is actually copyright, free of copyright infringement, because that's an entirely different conversation. Sorry if I've overcomplicated that a little bit.
Wouldn't the automated content ID system just send you the notification like, hey, someone's using your content, and it's up to you to decide what to do?
Yeah, but if it's outside of this short's permission,
right?
Because if it's because when we talk about the short's permission, this is all self-contained within YouTube. Yeah. So the content ID system isn't, I guess, in effect. It's only if somebody's doing it the old-fashioned way, ripping somebody's content and then re-uploading it outside of something else.
I assume that's what they meant because of the way it was worded. But yeah, if I would recommend just trying to use this shorts permission if you want to, sample other content. Keep it in house.
Keep it on platform.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Looking for questions. Cue looking for questions music.
Yeah.
If I sing the Jeopardy theme, I'm pretty sure it's probably copyrighted. Switch Drawing Styles has a question about audiobooks, and I actually get asked about books quite a lot. So that is a great question. Is it legal to post audiobooks? Generally, they are copyrighted. So unless it is a fair use, and fair use is a defense to copyright, meaning you are doing it for commentary, for education, but it needs to be transformative. And we talked a lot about fair use on our last monthly live stream last month. And I have videos on my channel about fair use as well. So generally, no, you can't just re-upload an audiobook. Same goes for monetizing reading books that are not in Creative Commons. Books that are in Creative Commons, you could read on your channel if you want to. Books that are copyrighted, just reading it out generally isn't going to be enough to be considered transformative. So I know if you want to have a channel where you just read children's books, if those are copyrighted and not part of Creative Commons or open use, it's generally a no-go on that for copyright. Whether the publisher will come after you for copyright is a different story. And again, just because YouTube lets it slide doesn't mean that it's legal. YouTube's internal copyright systems separate from copyright law in general. So you could upload something to YouTube and have it there for a year and be like, oh, it's totally cool, and then get sued for copyright infringement and be like, oh, wait, but YouTube allowed it. YouTube is not running these things through legal checks. They're running them through their own internal system checks.
I've seen examples of where people have narrated comic books. So they literally have a comic on screen and they're flipping over the pages and then narrating the scenes almost. And again, that is just essentially copyright infringement, isn't it? But as you say, because it's not digitized, it's not in an audio waveform or there's not images on the screen. YouTube can't detect that as immediate copyright. The owner or somebody who realizes that it's copyright has to claim it or report it or whatever.
Yep. So that's a long answer of saying generally.
Legal implications of using a whole or large part of another YouTuber's logo.
But why would you want to do that?
And use how? Like if you're like we talk about a lot of channels, like we do channel audits every day, so inevitably their logo is going to show up on the channel that we're looking at. And is that what we're talking about? Or are we talking about just taking someone's logo because you like it and putting it as your avatar?
Yep. Making it well, and we see that too with people's avatars. You see Mr. Beast's logo, you see characters that are copyrighted from Animal Crossing, from Star Wars. So it depends on how you're using it and also if it's likely to be an issue. So using another YouTuber's logo in your thumbnail because you're talking about something that YouTuber has done. If you're talking about speed running and put Dream's logo in your thumbnail, you're welcome to do that. That's going to be a derivative use, essentially. Well, it's not a derivative use. It's going to be a fair use of their logo. It's part of your thumbnail and advertising that you're talking about that subject, but you can't make it your own logo, if that makes sense.
vidIQ too. That's funny.
I'm assuming that's not yours.
It is not. No, I mean, this is where you go back to, it's so important to have a verification check mark so they know that it's actually you. I actually need to get our Spanish channel that verification check mark. But yeah, these are all of the examples of people who've decided to, oh, look, that's not me. Oh, I'm intrigued now. Let's have a look. Oh, look, they've ruined it with the channel banner, and I would have nothing to do with whatever that is.
Your name is right
Don't
on.
hate
on.
Know. Is that Barbie? Who is that?
I have
That is Barbie.
No clue. No clue. But then they've talked about Hitachi projector afterwards as well.
Rob, you really should know by now to niche down.
Yeah. What?
The description indicates it's you.
Yeah. Why have they used that description? It's bizarre.
But generally, the legal implications depend on how it's used. So,
very curious.
As always,
if that helps.
Depends.
Which is a horrible and hard answer. Because it does. The thing with copyright is the law feels very much like the old law with regard to adult content and adult videos, where the courts were like, well, if I see it, I can tell you if it's a problem or not. And that's very much how copyright law still works. It's like, we have to know the entire context, because words on a page don't necessarily give you the whole meaning of whether something's parody or not, something's commentary or not, something's comedy or not. So it all very much depends on context. And that's why I have videos on my channel going over different lawsuits, so we can go through different factual scenarios of context and help to give a little more of, it depends, but if this, then that, and if this, then that, and if this, then that.
Can you watch movie trailers or game ads for reviews on live stream? So I'm imagining this person's doing a live stream, trailer for Loki comes out. They're like, oh my gosh, you guys, we gotta stop everything we're doing and watch this trailer for Loki. I've been waiting for it forever. I would imagine the simple answer there is no.
So I would say, look at the verb. Watch, not really. React, respond,
comment.
Comments. Yeah, I think that then
break down. You can break down a trailer. Yeah, you can break down a trailer. And I love this. I watch Ryan Airy all the time. He would do Mandalorian episode breakdowns of like all the stuff buried within an episode, and use the clips and kind of pull out all of the little different goodies. And I watch a lot of Star Wars channels. A lot of Star Wars channels do this, and they're fantastic. The Easter eggs you missed, and they'll break down a trailer. Look to those channels and how they're breaking it down, because most of those channels are squarely within fair use of, yes, it is a TV show. Yes, it is copyrighted to Disney, but the way I'm using it is not going to get me, sued for copyright generally. And if I do get sued, because that's the thing, if I do get sued for copyright, I can defend myself. Now that might cost you $100,000, but you can defend yourself. That doesn't mean that YouTube won't flag it. So YouTube flagging it versus whether you can legally do it under fair use are two separate things. And YouTube may flag it, and you have to respond to the copyright notice, or hopefully not a copyright strike. I've never had a copyright strike. I don't know how that process works on YouTube very well, because I've never experienced it. But when they copyright claim things, you can respond to it and say, I understand this is copyrighted, but this is how I'm using it. Generally, you can't then monetize that.
Right. I also not a copyright strike, so I'm, maybe one day we'll get to learn.
I mean, I'm sure vidIQ has. Do you guys have content about strikes or?
Yeah, we've done some videos about the difference between claims and strikes. But as you say, none of us have experienced a strike per se. But I think there's a lot of documentation on what happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, just check those videos out.
I have a question about branding and shorts or even TikToks. Should you make something that makes it clear that's linked with the creator, or should you let other creators copycat you? So I'm going to have to break this one down. So I'm guessing what you mean is watermark. Should you watermark your content so people don't rip it off the platform? I know TikTok, if you post something on TikTok, they put a watermark for you. And we see a lot
Reels.
we see a lot of creators taking stuff off TikTok and just, making whole channels where they just take their favorite TikToks and upload them. Shouldn't do that. I think if you've been having trouble with people taking your videos, then yes, a little watermark somewhere couldn't hurt. Jake Fellman does a great job with this. All of his videos are watermarked. There you go. That's what it looks like. So it's always just
there
somewhere in the middle, something small.
I'll play
something
it
in the middle so it can't be clipped off.
Exactly.
Is why people watermark it there, so that if your stuff gets shared, there's in the beauty space, there's a lot of content creators who don't have videos of their faces. Simply Nailogical comes to mind, and her videos of her painting her nails will get used, but in other countries for commercial advertisements. Like companies will use them in their commercials without paying her. So watermarking in the middle there keeps the creator not notified, but credited for the work that they're doing. But also branding. See, when I thought branding, my first question was, what's the goal? And if the goal's building a signature style or something like that, then yeah, you should absolutely brand yourself. If you're a creator, there should be something that's signature to you and your style and the way you do things. Absolutely. So I took it a totally different direction.
I've just seen people like Jake Fellman watermark, their content. I was imagining that was the copyright comment or copycat comment there. Like,
right.
You don't want people to just take your stuff.
And that's the thing about branding yourself as a content creator. Other people can say the words that I say, but they're still not me as a creator. So when you brand yourself uniquely as a creator, it makes it harder to then copycat you because they're not you, which is why I love creators that personally brand themselves, because you get to know the creator and things become synonymous with that creator, kind of the way, a lot of people will call any type of soda a Coke, or the way people will call any type of, this thing a Kleenex, even if it's not Kleenex brand. That's when I think of branding, that's the power of branding.
What about if I upload a video that I take outdoors and someone doesn't want to be in the video, but saw that after it was uploaded? Great question. Outdoors, meaning public spaces, there's not, Emily, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they can do anything about that, right?
There's not much they can do if they are in a public space. However, you can get into some likeness issues. If somebody really doesn't want to be in the video, I would blur and face blur in the tools that YouTube has afterwards, because there's no point of it unless it's a type of video where you are filming somebody doing something for news reporting, for that kind of a purpose, and then you're not blurring them out. Generally, they would know that you're recording. There's lots that goes into that sort of a thing. But if they are in a public space, generally there's not a lot that they can do. But if it's not necessary to your video and somebody's walking through the background, is there a problem blurring it out? I don't know.
If you're going to a lot of like private places to shoot, you may want to carry releases with you. And that would be the safest bet. Anyone going into that place should know that there's cameras rolling, and they could be on a video in a video. And
that gets into where you can and can't film, because there are places that are private where you cannot film, and you might not know until later when you get contacted by the location going, by the way, you can't film here without a filming release or a permitted release. So knowing what you are filming and where you are filming, looking into that before you go is definitely a part of it.
I will add as well that YouTube's post-upload blurring tool is actually really, really good. I did a video on this where I just moved the subscribe button around and it tracked that object almost perfectly. So you can rescue the video if needs be. So yeah, just maybe do a test just to see how it works in case you are filming outdoors at any point.
I noticed they have a drone in their avatar, so I'm guessing they're filming outdoors quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it gets more complicated if you're trying to blur multiple things on an image. But the drone laws, I know pretty much everywhere, are very strict now. I mean, I think for Canada, you have to row out into the middle of a sea 5 miles before you can use it.
I had a situation once where, I say a situation, I didn't do anything, but I was out with my family. This was years ago, just eating at a restaurant outdoors, and I don't know if it was the restaurant owner or they hired somebody to, shoot a video, but a drone just went up and filmed us all eating. And there was no release. There was no sign on any doors when we got there. Maybe we were already sat down, and then someone put a sign on the door, and so, who knows? But
Right.
that was a private property. I probably could have done something if I wanted to, but I just kept eating because I was hungry.
Because it becomes the part of the thing, especially when you're in a private location being filmed, is you might not want to be, forevermore associated with the place or the location or the time or the thing, or to have a video come back up. We saw this with Ellie Kemper on Twitter over the weekend, right? Getting canceled over a pageant that she had been in when she was a teen. So being connected to things and places and being filmed in places can be a problem. But again, I was a district attorney, so a lot of the cases I had came from I wasn't even supposed to be there anyway, and I don't want anyone to know that I was there, so I don't want to talk to the police because I was in this place where I shouldn't have been, doing things I shouldn't have been doing because my wife didn't know, and then I got in this car accident, and I want to run away, but that is unfortunately a problem. So anyway, long wandering tangent to say, try the blur tools, make sure you know the regulations in your area for filming, and make sure you're aware if you're in private locations that you have done filming releases and likeness releases, especially if you're having guests on your YouTube channel to get a release. I've seen channels have issues with, we have a release, but I've seen issues with this where creators are like, oh, but I didn't know you were going to repost the live. I thought it was going to be live and then it was going to go down and it wasn't going to stay on a channel. So what do I do? And it's like, no, you agreed to be on the live. So those things and conversations can help when it comes to releases for guest appearances as well.
All right, Emily, Dan, I'm giving you your 5-minute countdown to this secret game that we're going to play. So get ready for whatever it is.
I'm going to caffeinate.
I'm not going to tell you what it is, but we'll tackle this question first. Painting with Avipsa. If we get a copyright claim on a video, does YouTube hold back that video and stop it from getting a lot of views? So this is my experience, and the answer is no. It makes no difference to the discovery performance of a video. And this is an example. We actually did this. I uploaded a video and used some copyright music because back in the day, a couple of years ago, YouTube used to have this music policies page where you could find out what would happen to your video if you used copyright music. And so I said, let's upload it and see what happens and then make a video about it. So can you legally use music on YouTube? It's the top of the search rankings. It has 500,000 views. And I think I've muted it, so it's not going to play the actual music, but it should have in the description a little bit about the music I use. Yeah, so I used something from Arcade Fire, and I got the copyright claim warning, but claims don't impact your channel. It just impacts the monetization of that video. So I don't know, maybe Arcade Fire have benefited from 500,000 views on this, but yeah, that's the general answer. It shouldn't have any impact, but that's not a permission to start using copyrighted content all of the time, because you're always one step away from a copyright strike if you don't know the nature of the content. And Absolutely. You're never going to be able to make any money off it either.
And I see, you see creators like pre-cancellation David Dobrik used quite a lot of copyrighted music in his videos, and they were already demonetized because of the types of content he made and the stunt and prank content. So he was like, you know what, I might as well just use copyrighted music. I don't care. I'm demonetized anyway. All of my money is coming from sponsorships and from brand deals. So might as well use the copyrighted music I want to use. And you will see creators choose to not be monetized and make the video anyway. And then YouTube can monetize that and the money will go to the musician generally. If that helps.
I think it helps. All right.
I'm wondering now, are we going to another question or are we playing a game? I don't know what's happening.
Have you got another question lined up, Dan?
There's this one.
All right. Let's do this one.
We've got to hold them off with questions.
I like that plan, Dan.
If we get copyrighted and or strike during a live stream, does it affect the live stream?
Yeah,
well, I imagine if it's your last strike, it could.
It immediately gets pulled, doesn't it? It'll get taken down, and because there is always penalties to the channel as well when you get a copyright strike. I don't know if, because it's 3 strike system, and I don't know at what strike you are prevented from posting content or live streams. I think it's the very first strike will mean that you can't post anything for 7 days, but I would have to check on that. So yes, if you are live streaming something that you shouldn't, by accident, I was trying to find I didn't know if YouTube were going to stream the Champions League final on Saturday, the football one, soccer. So I did a search, and this result came up, and the channel had changed their channel name and the channel icon to make it look like the official site, official Champions League site. But once I went into the channel, I knew it wasn't, so I quickly went off it. And I think like 200,000 people were watching it at the time, so I'm almost certain that got hit with a strike very quickly. YouTube are very good at stopping that from happening with I guess people's copyrighted live content.
But we can see it. I mean, I've been covering the Triller lawsuit since YouTube boxing is now like its own genre of thing. And Jake Paul fought, if you want to call it a fight, fought Ben Askren, and channels had live streamed. There were multiple channels live streaming the pay-per-view event onto YouTube. One of the channels got sued in the big Triller lawsuit and then got booted out from proper joinder, but that's a whole thing. But the channel name was Mike. So they sued him. It was like Triller versus Mike. And when you go to Mike's channel has 2 boxing events on it. And Mike's channel still had that video up. It looked like it hadn't come down yet. I mean, I couldn't tell if it was monetized. I'm sure it wasn't, but had live streamed, and it was still up on their channel, that fight. So you can actually still go watch the fight. Probably because at this point, Triller's like, no, we want to bump damages, so let people keep watching it so we can keep saying these are further damages of people who watched it through this site. But yeah, it was very interesting to me that had stayed up, because it looked like it had live streamed the fight as it was happening on pay-per-view. You can't do that. You can't do that, by the way. You cannot do that.
You can't? But I paid for it.
Yes, you can't redistribute it. I'm sure somebody would argue non-commercial use. I'm having a watch party. No, you can't do that. And I know it's going to be tempting, because the next Paul brother is fighting shortly here, and people aren't going to want to pay for the fight, but they are going to want to see Logan Paul get punched in the face by Floyd Mayweather. So just pay for the fight. That's my suggestion. Go to somebody's house who paid for the fight. Do sports bars play YouTube boxing fights? Like, can you go to a sports bar and watch them there?
I would assume so, yeah.
They pay for a different license, by the way, y'all. Just because you see them do it at a sports bar where they have people come and watch it, they pay for a different license for commercial use, generally.
So, or at least they're supposed to.
They ought to.
The number of times I've seen somebody just like, they have a video playing, and then it ends, and then it goes back to the Windows 10 desktop screen.
They're supposed to. Yeah. They're supposed to. That actually came up in one of the Taylor Swift suits. She got sued by a theme park for this LARPing theme park in Utah. Evermore sued her over the name of her album Evermore. And in the countersuit, apparently the theme park had been performing Taylor Swift songs at the theme park. And so BMG was like, but you're supposed to pay for licensing. So you're suing her over the name of the album, and we're suing you for not paying for licensing for live performing and playing in a commercial setting Taylor Swift's music. It was hilarious.
That sounds like copyright Inception right there.
It was Inception, and it all settled out of court shockingly.
All right, then, let's do this.
Sorry.
Okay, so Dan and Emily, since you didn't really think about this, I'm going to jump in and we're going to play this game. All right, and so people, I want you to stop commenting right now, because I want you're going to be the judge and jury here. You're going to vote for who did this best. And please, law nerds, don't do any bias here.
Don't do any bias.
Be impartial. Give Dan a chance. Impartial. Right. So the game we're playing is called Defend the Indefensible, right? Okay.
Just start voting for Emily now.
And so this is what you've got to do, right? You ready for this? Dan and Emily, I've even written out scripts here just to make sure I get this all right. Dan and Emily, you must vigorously support a theme for 30 seconds that is either distasteful, politically incorrect, plainly wrong, self-derisory, or entirely contrary to the creator's known opinions. Now, let's be honest, as a former district attorney, I think Emily has a bit of an advantage here on this to argue her case. So, Emily, you're going to go first, right? So I'm going to time this. You have to say.
Wait, do I have to pick the topic that
No,
I'm
no,
defending?
no.
The
This is I'm
indefensible?
giving it to you.
You're giving me the
I'm
topic.
giving it to you, and
Oh,
you've got to
no.
defend it for 30 seconds. And this is what it's going to be. All right. So here it comes. Right. You got 30 seconds to support this statement, and I'm going to read it out, and then you start defending it. So this is what you need to defend. The indefensible is. As much as I love my law nerds, you are watching the wrong channel. The Legal Eagle is the better YouTube lawyer. Go.
Well, Legal Eagle has very serious lawyer hair. So if you are going to judge your lawyer based solely on appearance, you can tell how serious your lawyer is by the fact that, one, this attorney's male. Obviously, he is going to have a grasp of the law that's different based on his inherent manness. He also has tremendous hair, almost like a newscaster, which means you can trust him. You can trust him because he has trustworthy hair. Not to mention, there is a custom fitted suit.
Time is up.
I didn't even get into the law books.
All right.
Damn
Okay,
it.
Dan, I think you're onto an absolute loser here. You have got no chance, but we'll do it anyway. Ready? Okay. So, Dan, you need to defend the indefensible, the following statements. Right. Okay. Are you ready for this, Dan? Here we go. Minecraft creators, stop wasting your time. You are never going to succeed on YouTube. Play something I haven't watched 1 billion times already. Go.
Oh, okay. Well, you made it easy. So as you all know, when you make a Minecraft video, you're completely wasting your time. You shouldn't do that because everybody else is doing it already. And so what's the point? Why would you ever do that? Why would anyone ever watch it? And instead, you should probably take the Minecraft game that you purchased and just uninstall it, and then go on Steam and buy something else. There's lots of games. You don't have to record them either, which is great, which saves time on editing. It saves time on making thumbnails. You don't have to think of the title.
Your time is over.
30 seconds is brutal.
Well, you see, from the podcast that I listen to, we only have 20 seconds because we're really struggling. So if you want me to do more next time, I certainly will do.
No, 30 seconds is tough.
Right.
But I think we start the timer after you've read the question.
Oh, yeah, I
did
did
do
do
that.
I did do that. Okay, so
it's hard to process and then argue.
That was defend indefensible, folks. Can you give us a hashtag Dan or a hashtag Emily, and we'll quickly see in the chat who won.
Dan, I think you made more points in 30 seconds than I did. I got to hair and suit.
If you enjoyed it and you want me to think up of some more in the next hour, then let me know in the comments and we'll do another round of defending indefensible. And maybe next time you can get me as well. But yeah, let us know what you thought of that and who won.
I love defend the indefensible.
Hashtag Dan.
Hashtag Dan. Go Dan.
Dan's getting the love here, Dan. All right.
People are like, who is Legal Eagle?
Obviously not a lot of Minecraft creators today.
This is not a shade Devon.
You see, I had to think of something, Dan, that wouldn't reveal your secret channel. So that's why I steered off that topic.
Thank you.
I love it. Dan did make more points. No apologies in the chat. 30 seconds is 30 seconds is brutal for me.
It's looking like a draw here, actually. So yeah, maybe I need to do another round. So if you want to bring up another question, Dan, I might have to think of some more defend the indefensibles.
We can do another defend the indefensible.
All right, and I can extend it to a minute for the next one.
We can do 30 seconds. I have to adapt. You should see how long it takes me to make shorts. To actually coalesce my thoughts into a minute is a challenge.
Well, shorts should be, I think. I think the best shorts are the ones that take the most time. You know, usually you have to write a really strong hook in a video to get people's attention. And things can kind of like relax a little bit as you're getting into the subject matter, but that hook is what keeps them at the start. With the short, the whole thing has to be the hook. You know, that's the whole video. So the pressure's on, you know. It's so easy to swipe away from that short.
I'm going to pick this one up. So tackle that one and I'll think of some more defending indefensibles.
YouTube is located in the US and I'm in Germany. So which laws are applicable for my content? For my content, both the laws, only mine, or what? So both like US law and laws in Germany, or et cetera, et cetera. If that went to court in the US or in Germany. Sorry, it's hard one to read, but I think we
it can depend on what we're talking about. So with regard to your local copyright laws, they generally apply in the country where you are uploading. Though if you are uploading stuff that violates a US company's copyright, Could they try to sue you in the US over it? Yes. Would they have jurisdiction? It depends. But when it comes to things like financial, if you are making money from YouTube, then both laws apply when it comes to the money stuff. So it's a little bit of both. Sorry.
There you go. Sorry.
Yep. And then, when you get into the GDPR stuff in the EU, then you branch into other realms of laws that you have to consider as well. So content creation does come with its legal underpinnings. I really think, and I know people get flustered with YouTube and the rules that YouTube has and the way that they do things. I really think YouTube tries to offer guidance without offering legal advice by the way that they do their systems for things like copyright, trying to keep people within the boundaries. So ultimately, they don't also get sued as a platform.
Should I incorporate for a YouTube channel?
Human City Junction, it depends on the purpose of your channel, the money you are making with your channel, if you are doing brand deals with your channel, where you are located, and if an LLC is right for you. Oftentimes the answer is yes. Running your YouTube channel like a business is the best bet. Sometimes that includes an LLC. Sometimes that's running as a sole proprietor. The first thing you should do is absolutely separate out your money shit so that you have a business bank account separate from your personal bank account. And if you're in the US, an EIN, because then you're not giving out your social security number when you're doing different brand deals. You're giving out your EIN and your business information. You can do that as a sole proprietor. So it really depends. A tax professional who knows your situation or an attorney who is familiar with your situation can really help you dial that in. When I do consulting on this type of topic, I look at what the goal is of the channel, what they're making now, what they want to make, other sources of income, other assets or liabilities, and then any other income coming into the household, spouse, partner, what have you. And then take all of those factors together to help decide and then help redistribute expenses into the business, which with an LLC can become a lot of fun when your tech starts becoming a business expense, when you can use, I don't know if Dan and Rob have to deal with this, but the ladies, your appearance budget becomes a thing when you're on film all the time and you need to maintain the purple hair and the snatched eyebrows and things. So you can do a lot through a business that you couldn't otherwise do. It's just whether it's worth it to spend the money to incorporate in your state versus your benefit. So for me, I'm an LLC. It definitely works in my favor, but I also live in a lower taxation state. In California, it's $1,000 your first year to be an LLC, and then it's an $800 flat tax every year after that. So if you're not swinging at least $800 in benefit, it might not be worth it if you're not in a high liability field. I feel like that's a very long answer and everybody's eyes have glazed over, but separate your money first, and then you need to balance out whether it's worth it. I actually have I had a checklist on my website for this, Human City Junction. So if you want to DM me or at me on Twitter, I can send you that link. I'm not sure where it lives on my website at the moment, but I have a checklist you can go through and kind of evaluate if it's right for you. I need to reformulate that for creators. I think that might be that might be helpful to redo, but I do have a resource for that.
It's a good question. I just want to know if I can expense my beard trimmer.
It's an appearance thing. You're on film.
I've just ordered a back massager for this chair. Would that count?
I would. Well, you are in Canada, are you not?
Correct, yes.
I do not know Canadian financial. If you were in the US, I can tell you how I would do it. If you were in the US, I would consider that a wellness expense because you're on the computer so much.
Right.
And because you're on the computer so much, you can get neurological and nerve issues running from the neck and back and shoulders. I say as my mouse hand goes numb frequently because of a shoulder impingement that I have. So you would, in the US, you would categorize that as a wellness expense that can be paid through your business. The amount of things that wellness expense through my business are if you guys want to hear the stuff that I run through my business, it's again, each business is separate, but things like the internet, obviously, camera, mic, all of that technology, obviously, but also things like my cell phone. I use my phone for my business to create content. My business pays for it. Why do I like doing that? As we've run far afield into finances in the US, when you are a business, when YouTube pays me or when a brand pays me, taxes haven't come out of that money yet. So that money is dollar for dollar, penny for penny what it is. If you get paid through a job, taxes come out first. When you use it as a business expense, you pay for it with your dollar for dollar, cent for cent money first. As a business, you don't get taxed until after your expenses are taken out. So if you load things into your expenses that are legitimate and valid business expenses, you pay taxes on what's left over. And that becomes where people are like, corporations don't pay taxes. It's like a lot of them have really high expenses. And yes, Daniel, depending on where you are, if you are in the US, your gym membership generally would count as wellness. And I would talk to your CPA about that, but that would count even if you were an employee. Depending on some jobs, gym memberships can be a part of an employee wellness plan. So yes,
I would say no, because it's clearly not working.
Oh,
and Dan, I am not that mean to Dan, but
wow.
I would also say when it comes to wellness and appearance, like wellness can also be structural wellness, because if you're at the computer filming all day, you can absolutely have body things that happen when you work on the computer all day, but it's not a write-off. And this is the difference for a lot of US businesses, is shifting the mentality. You don't want to write it off your taxes at the end, because then you've paid the US for it and you're trying to get your money back. You want to expense it before it's ever taxed. So you pay for it with business funds before it's ever taxed, and then you just pay taxes on what's left over. So expense it versus writing it off. Writing it off means you try to get it back later.
Glad you reminded me. I'm like, I need to stand. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. If you want to, Dan, if we want to turn this into some sort of charity thing, let's do this.
No, I raised the desk during that because
he's talking to Dan, saying it's an
Oh,
MMA
sorry.
gym. So step up, Rob.
Too many Dans.
I just one more quick question on this. I can see you have a metric time in the background, Emily, and I have one as well. Is that kind of stuff in the same brackets? And does it help if it actually appears in a live stream? Because I just assume that all of these props in the background are expensible because they're part, props, set design, etc., etc. Even if I do put them on while I'm walking a dog and scare people outside of live streams and camera.
Just
content.
because you use it for other stuff, and there are differentiations in this. If you use it for other stuff, how much of it's apportionable. But the things I use in my office are part of my set, and they are things that I paid for with business funds. They are legitimate business expenses. Now, when it comes to things like a home office, it becomes how much of a space are you using? And there are some things that get proportioned out, which is why a CPA is always very helpful. But there are basics that you can start moving into your business and paying with business funds. Internet is the first one that most business owners are like, what? And the reason I help people strategize that is because when you move money from your personal expenses into your business expenses, the amount of money you need to take out of your business into your home changes, so you can actually change your tax bracket. Sorry, that was making me laugh. You can strategize your tax bracket, and that's what a lot of LLC and business owners across the internet sphere do. So
let's just take this one final question on money, and then let's maybe try and get back to law and legal stuff. And do try and please keep them relevant to the topics that we're discussing today. We're still trying to avoid questions about audience retention and all that.
Me as I wandered out into business and money, because I love talking about it. Joe Badger Money Mentor. It depends on how you're financing your business and how your business is set up. And it depends on what you mean by deduct. So there are times if you are investing into your business that it might make sense to have a separate business bank account, put investments into your business that are personal investments, use that money to pay for the thing so that it's a business expense, not a deduction. But it also depends on how you are paying your taxes. So yes, you can, depending on how you do it. And I would talk to a CPA to get that set up.
Oops.
I was like, what?
I saw something about a silver play button, and I was like,
I brought up by accident. I wanted to
edit murder.
Mine is up here for the first time this month.
Oh yeah,
it looks good.
That's convenient for something we're about to do.
All right. So is that what we're going back to, or are we doing?
Well, if we can find another question, let's see if we have any more questions.
I saw short reviews said questions. When should smaller YouTubers think about registering their channel as a business? That is legal. I'm super happy to talk about that.
Yeah.
If you are going to be making money with your channel, it is time to separate the money first and then decide when moving the money will swing it. So if you're in California, for instance, that $800 flat tax, if you're not bringing in at least $800, it might not actually make sense to you, because as a sole proprietor, you can also use some of the same ways of using business expenses, but separating the money you should absolutely do once you intend to make money doing the thing. If you're monetized, if you're taking brand deals, even if you're investing into your channel because you want to grow it and you're buying equipment, you can invest, personally put $2,000 into that business bank account, and that's what money you're using for your business. And then as your business makes money, it can pay you back later. So that's starting to create your own bank and ways to move money without taxes. But you should always be thinking about it. If you are intending to make money on YouTube, you should be thinking about it from the beginning and separate the money first. And then as you start making money, depending on your state, consider registering as an LLC.
Let's afford ourselves one conspiracy question per live stream. Who should we fear more if we are outside the US, YouTube or the US government?
I'm going to say YouTube.
This should be our next Defend the Indefensible. I'm going to say the US government.
I would say that because, there's a bit of legitimacy in this question in that YouTube is based in the US, and so they are generally governed by US laws to a certain extent. For example, it is June the 2nd now, and people outside of the US needed to fill in complete, or what they call W-8 Ben forms, which are about making sure that you're not taxed for your US earnings or your tax the right amount. So there is a certain element of, if the US government needs to, I guess also with FTC and Copper, what they said to YouTube meant that it affected all creators. So both maybe is the answer, or however YouTube interprets US government policy and so on.
I want to know why Dan said YouTube or US. What did you say?
I said YouTube because I
US.
think it's more likely that people will make a mistake that is not going to get them extradited. It's more along the lines of.
Can you imagine if they assigned like really popular creators to go and extradite people from different countries? Like you had PewDiePie turned up. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a big fan. Yeah, just step into this car and we'll go for a drive.
Mr. Beast in front of a private jet. This is my private jet, and we're about to fly to another country and round up a whole bunch of offenders.
Oh my!
No, that's what I think, though. I think that people are more likely to make a mistake that is against YouTube's terms of service and not get them into trouble with the actual U.S. government. But I'm also not a very strong legal mind, so.
See, I find YouTube more predictable because they're going to act in their best interest, and they're going to act predictably in monetarily their best interest. I find the US government a little less predictable in that because of all the infighting. So I feel like it's easier to plot course on what I think YouTube may do in the future because there's a touch point to why they're doing things. Like the logic's a bit easier for me to figure out. The logic of politicians, I guess they do things in their own best interest as well. But the logic of politicians is a little harder for me to follow just because there's more of them.
Right. That makes sense.
So
cool.
Shall we do another Defend the Indefensible?
Let's go for it.
Yeah,
sure.
You let us know in the comments, by the way, if you want me to do this. And Dan, you need to avoid those banners because you're going to see in advance what they are.
I averted my eyes. I saw that, and then I saw you written stuff, so I averted my eyes.
So I will admit this time I've not had as much time to think about these, so they're not as good as the first ones, but we'll try them anyway. Dan, you're going to go first this time. So just to remind everybody what Defend the Indefensible is. Dan and Emily must vigorously support a theme for 30 seconds that is either distasteful, politically incorrect, plainly wrong, self-derisory, or entirely contrary to the creator's known opinion. So, Dan, this is going to be yours, and it's very simple. And I'm just setting up my timer for 30 seconds. You have to defend the following. Mr. Beast buys subscribers. He should be banned from YouTube. Go.
Okay, so this is getting ridiculous. Mr. Beast just kind of tells people to subscribe, and if you do, give you a bunch of money. Hey, that sounds great. Way to manipulate the YouTube metrics, you monster. I think that Mr. Beast should probably be canceled for this, giving away all that money to people just because they hit subscribe. It's not fair. I hit subscribe, I didn't even get any money, which, now I'm part of the problem. And it's a big problem. It's an outrageous problem. And I think that's my point. I think he should just be canceled.
Mr. Beast is a monster, according to Dan. All right, defend it, indefensible. We are now going to former district
parody,
attorney.
People. It's parody.
It's Emily D. Baker.
I love Mr. Beast, and he helps everybody all the time.
Like if we had a lawyer watching this live stream right now, we'd be in trouble. All right, the next one. This is for Emily, and it is the following: you have 30 seconds to defend it indefensible. Although I think you're probably going to secretly enjoy this one. I murdered Logan Paul with my silver play button in the LA YouTube Spaces studio, and I'm proud I did. Go.
Wow.
Logan Paul has already been canceled off of the internet. I was just taking the logical next step to also cancel him off of the planet. Parody. But Logan Paul is a scourge to not only YouTube, he's impacting the monetary value of my job by being generally terrible. So the fact that he brought the adpocalypse will likely bring a second adpocalypse means that he cannot be allowed to exist anymore.
Oh, and you got it in the time as well. That was excellent. Indefensible. Just to quote there, Logan Paul is the scourge of YouTube. I think you said at some point.
The play button cleaned up nicely.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was going to add, you can still see the blood splattered stains on my play button, but I didn't have time to type that in. So yeah, if you want to quote anything from this live stream, Mr. Beast is a monster and Logan Paul is a scourge of YouTube. Again, if you want me to do another one of these in the next half an hour, do let me know. But
I actually do have to say that between the two Paul brothers, maybe that's the next defend the indefensible. Which Paul brother is better? But I actually like Logan better than I like Jake at this point. I don't know. There's been a redemption for me. I do want to see them both get punched in the face.
A redemption arc, but still requires punching in the face. Absolutely.
There's just something visceral about seeing people get pulled. But my family and I watch a lot of MMA. My youngest child is named after Forrest Griffin. I'm not opposed to watching people choose to get punched in the face. So,
All right. What I'm going to do is, Dan H, if you can think of some defending defensibles, can you just
Dan H is saying, excuse me while I clip that for Twitter.
Can you
when
send
I
me
get canceled, you all will know where it came from. The rumor that, lawyer and former prosecutor murders Logan Paul is a joke.
Hashtag context is everything, except for when you clip it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, where were we?
I'm worried for Emily. Mr. Beast is generally friendly. I don't know enough about Logan Paul. I'm kind of worried about you.
Logan Paul's got bigger things on his plate. I think Floyd Mayweather actually did threaten the life of Jake Paul. So they've got a lot going on.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. I mean, once again, threatening someone's life in serious is actually a crime. Often words aren't crimes, but like defamation, civil, but like actual criminal crimes. There are realms of criminal threats. And I don't know if Floyd Mayweather, I should do that on my channel. Did Floyd Mayweather actually tip into the realm of criminal threats by threatening to kill Jake Paul? Anyway.
This was because he stole his hat, wasn't it? And he tried to, I guess, monetize it.
He didn't just steal his hat. He also pulled a prank on Clubhouse too. And I don't know who the moderators were in the Clubhouse room that pulled Jake Paul up on stage in Clubhouse, but Jake Paul got onto Clubhouse and was like, stole your stage, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's all just a stunt behind the scenes and we really are living in the Truman Show.
It's it's very close to wrestling in that sense. What is fiction and what is truth. I guess we'll find out, because you would assume, not that I want to really go into boxing talk with Dan, Emily, and Rob, but I Floyd Mayweather probably has the capacity to knock Logan Paul out in 30 seconds if he wanted to, but that wouldn't be good for the I guess everybody who's bought it on pay-per-view.
Yep. So Dan, can we make Rob play next time? I have a question.
Absolutely, if you want to. Then
can I put it in the private chat? Rob, don't look.
Yeah, I will.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
I want to get this question loaded up while you do that. Can I use videos made on apps like Snapchat using their filters and monetize on YouTube?
So I guess if it's their own content and they're able to remove the watermarks, it's going to be very hard for YouTube to identify it as content from elsewhere. And we encourage repurposing of content. So I don't have any general issues with that. But again, is there something potentially in terms of service whereby if you use a particular filter that's unique to a certain platform and use it elsewhere, there could be issues, although it's going to be so hard to find that from a platform point of view?
Yeah, I gotta wonder if it's just a filter like that adds some color. That might be different than the ones that add like the dog face or something that someone actually had to hand craft and
Right.
But you can use, there's a Snapchat filter app that you can use for free on your computer. I do it for LawyerCat. I literally turn myself into LawyerCat for my channel. And so those seem to be open source. So I don't think that would be a huge issue. I don't think it says. I would have to look at Snapchat's terms of service. I mean, they probably say it's for non-commercial use, but how do they define commercial use if you're putting it on and monetizing your own platform? Like you're not Coca-Cola using Snapchat filter for your advertising on television or something.
If I make content like Mr. Beast, is it bad? Will I get in trouble by YouTube or him? I mean,
I see that the logo is inspired by, which I appreciate. It depends on what you mean by make content like. Are you meaning using video concepts and ideas? That's something that creators regularly do. Look in the beauty community for inspired by. I think the problem is what you're trying to build on your channel. And if your audience will know it's inspired by, and if you're like, hey, I saw Mr. Beast do this, I want to try it too. I don't think there's anything wrong with that unless you can't copyright and trademark thoughts and ideas. So a concept is not really something that you can protect once it's been shared.
There is a huge Russian channel which I think copies Mr. Beast's content verbatim, like exactly the same thumbnails. They refilm it in almost exactly the same way. It's as close to his original content as possible, only in Russian. So I guess, would it be not necessarily copyright infringement, but more intellectual property breaches?
I mean, if it's verbatim, it could, they're going to say it's changed because it's in a different language, but it's not him and he's not benefiting. If it's verbatim, it can run into copyright because the things that you create are copyrightable. If it's the concept is not copyrighted. The words that are spoken are copyrighted. So concepts are easier than just literally ripping a video and copying it shot for shot. But even then, if you copy it shot for shot and the words are different, it's a concept. And so, I mean, we absolutely see that. Now, whether that is well received by an audience is a whole different thing about whether that is legal, illegal, or allowable.
All right. Let's go on to this one. Is it an issue to recreate a social media card from a popular YouTube channel? vidIQ social media card animation, for example.
What do we mean by social media card?
Is it the end screen card?
Like whenever something pops up, I guess that's like follow us on socials, and it's just a little lower third that pops up and animates.
I mean, 90% of the time they're probably templates from
Canva,
or I think ours are Envanto. We just change the letters, so it's not necessarily
we license those.
But yeah, we're licensing them from elsewhere.
You just gotta be careful. Recreating is one thing, like getting inspired by it and making it in your own style is one thing. But if you're trying to make it pixel for pixel exactly the same, you could, I would imagine, run into some problems
with copyright and possibly with trademark, because logos are trademarked. So it depends on what's in the social media card. But if it's using the layout and the general feel, that's one thing. Now, there's going to be a lawyer somewhere that's like, but what about trade dress? There are areas of law particularly within trademark, where the look and feel of something being copied can be trademark infringement. So you have to be careful with that. When it comes to concepts and layouts, again, there's only so many ways to lay something out. So look and feel, it depends how close it is to look and feel. So that happens in like the subscription box world all the time. It's like, this looks exactly like that. Well, you can't copy somebody's look and feel, even though the word might be different than the trademarked logo. So that's where these things become muddy waters of how closely you're copying something and how closely you're recreating it. A general layout and a general vibe is one thing, but a direct look and feel can actually be a trademark issue under trade dress. That was way deeply nerdy. I apologize to all of you as we're getting into trade dress conversations, but
it's bound to happen. Okay, it's kind of an interesting one. Will YouTube keep allowing TikToks to be on YouTube Shorts since they are a Shorts competitor? I think in a perfect world, YouTube would keep people from re-uploading, and I think they're trying to do this, Rob. They want to keep people from re-uploading TikToks, and the dead giveaway is that fun little watermark that moves around. So, Rob, as you've advised, if you own the TikTok content, download it natively so it doesn't have the watermark. Make sure it's the clean version of it, and then upload it to Shorts. But it'll be to combat people who are just straight up stealing content from TikTok.
I would imagine that YouTube definitely has the technology to identify that watermark in Shorts and then suppress the performance of those videos if they want to. I don't think they've done that yet because they want the Shorts platform to grow as much as possible. I think I read a couple of months ago that Instagram Reels were trying to do that, where if they saw branding from other platforms, they would suppress the content. I would definitely think that if you have watermarks from other platforms on YouTube Shorts, you are not going to get anywhere near that YouTube creator fund of $100 million. So yeah, just plan for the future.
Yep. Do I need to trademark my channel name?
Kayvon, it depends on what your channel name is, how competitive it is, if it's financially worth it to trademark it, what else you're using it for, because you need to be using it in commerce. I don't know, and I will need to look at how the USPTO is currently looking at YouTube channel names in commerce. Traditionally, they're looking for things that are being bought and sold in commerce. I think there's a strong argument that a YouTube channel is, in fact, in commerce because you are making money with it. So do you need to? It unfortunately is very, very specific. But if your name is Kayvon, it might not be specific and identifiable enough to trademark. So that becomes the other part. Hopefully that's helpful.
Would it be copyright if you use someone else's recipe?
Oh, that's very interesting. Recipes can be copyrighted, but also I think they fall under oftentimes formulas. So if you are making a recipe, it's one thing. If you are reselling a recipe card, it's another thing. So it really depends on how you are using the recipe. If you're making it on your channel, it's not going to be as much of an issue or an issue at all. If you are like, hey, I paid for this book, this has a recipe in it, I've now copied that recipe and I'm reselling it, that becomes more of a problem. So that's where the in-commerce part might get you.
Is it a myth or is it truth that like the recipe for a Coca-Cola is secret in a vault and only a couple of people understand it? I know what
I've heard that too. I don't know if that's true. Because
I always wonder from a health and safety point of view, surely you can't withhold the ingredients of something.
Well, the ingredients are listed on the can. I don't think the percentages in which those ingredients are used is listed. So the secret sauce of the formula, but the ingredients of a Coca-Cola are listed. They have to be by the FDA.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, maybe I've
But absorbic here, I'm going to Google what the ingredients of a Coke are. But generally, using someone else's recipe is not going to be a copyright issue. So anyway, I'm going to look. Now I want to know. My husband was just watching something about Coca-Cola and founding Coca-Cola and something on the building of America with food. Ingredients for a Coca-Cola: carbonated water, high fructose corn syrup, caramel color, phosphoric acid, natural flavors, and caffeine. Those are the ingredients of a Coca-Cola. Now, if you can figure out which natural flavors to put all together in the right combination, you might be able to crack the code.
Right. Okay. So there can be some vagueness to protect the recipe.
Yeah, the natural flavors being the vagueness.
Okay.
So this one's kind of, we did kind of discuss this earlier, but I know people have probably joined us later. Will there be any problem with making YouTube shorts or clips from creators like Dream or MrBeast long term? So this, I guess, relates back
canceled.
That's right. I guess this kind of
because MrBeast is a monster.
At least neither of them are the scourge of YouTube. Sorry, we have.
He's got beast in his name.
But here's one: Dream is the spawn of a devil. Hashtag parody.
It's the speed running. He got too many drops on Ender Pearls or something like that. My kid was trying to explain to me how you cheat at a speed run in Minecraft, and it went right over my head. I've watched my kids play Minecraft, but I didn't understand the whole Dream controversy, and I wanted to better. Sorry. Continuing on, YouTube is allowed for you to use clips, and I'm sure that's what you're going to say, Dan.
I was going to say that the shorts permission, it would be the way to do it. You would sample somebody's audio, and that would be allowed if you're using YouTube's own platform to do it. Otherwise, I would say, Emily, right, it would have to be pretty transformative. You would be able to take a clip, and as long as it was a clip, or maybe you're reacting to the video, it has to be transformative in some way.
And that's the hard thing with shorts, is making a video clip transformative in a minute. How do you do that? So this is something that we're seeing and will see potentially play out. What I hate seeing is these shorts channels growing in subs that are literally just re-uploading other people's TikToks. It infuriates me that YouTube doesn't take those down. But that's also like, hey, I'm over here working. We're building subs the right way. What are you doing with these clip channels?
It feels to me in that sense that what YouTube wanted was a headline statement for how popular shorts are, and now they can say, I still don't know how this is true. There are 6.5 billion daily shorts views, which is, if you work it out, nearly 2.5 trillion views a year, which is incredible. And I feel as if they just wanted as much content on the platform as possible to reach that
critical
mass, terminal velocity, and then they might start actually figuring out how to regulate it a little bit more.
A bit off topic, just as a general reminder too, if you get permission to use other people's work in your work, one thing they can do, unless you have it in writing, is decide one day, hey, I changed my mind. So you don't want to rely on that as a growth strategy, I would say. Using other people's content. If you are going to use it, get yourself educated on fair use and what it means to make transformative content. And good luck. All right, looking for more questions. What about
Savage Plays It had a question that legally adjacent.
Was it the one about age restrictions? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was trying to find his channel and I couldn't when I was investigating that.
I don't know how the back end of that works on YouTube, but what I will say, I've had videos age restricted and they've always been appropriately so, but YouTube does, and I think does a really good job when you monetize a video of allowing you to let them know what's in your video. And I find that if you are honest with that and it's age restricted, then that's as it should be. And that's not a problem. Why every time does it get age restricted? It might be based on content, but we would need to look at your channel, and I'll let the YouTube experts take that away.
Yeah, you're describing the self-certification thing here. When you upload something, you say monetize, and then you have to answer all of these questions about whether it includes profanities, sexual content, etc. Because I can't find this channel on YouTube, maybe they haven't even hit 1,000 subscribers yet, so we're not even allowed to do that. Right. I think in the past, but this was in the past, there could be a point where, because you're constantly creating age restricted content, your channel gets put into a bucket where it just auto assigns everything as age restricted.
Right.
It sounds like a bit binary and a bit dumb these days, but I don't know if YouTube is still doing that. I think as we don't know the content, it might be time to start looking at those community guidelines and just figuring out whether or not your content actually should be age restricted for whatever reason.
And I will say, when I notice age restrictions or restrictions on monetization on my videos, I'm normally talking about trending topics that could push into that zone of age restricted, depending on what I'm talking about, how the creator's name is being combined with other key search terms at the time. And when I go back in, most of the time when I request review, it's under 24 hours. Unfortunately, that's 24 hours. My video is doing really well, but it's under 24 hours to get us back in the green. So that is something that can happen. And I work with, I don't mind working with YouTube on that. I've found that, like, the more I live streamed and the more I uploaded and accurately self-identified my videos, the more that my videos were not having issues with immediately going into the yellow after a live stream, depending on the nature of what I was talking about. So I think the platform starts to learn you and your videos, and the more that you have them appealed and the more that you win those appeals, I believe there's some kind of a trust within the system that it's like, this content is accurately being represented. And so going through that process is worth it.
And I think I should also add, in YouTube's defense, that they have put a lot of time into this area, because I think it used to be just before that YouTube would have a sledgehammer and just say, no, this is age restricted, nobody's going to watch it. But now they're being a little more conscious that there is a more adult audience who may want to watch this content, but YouTube just needs to make sure that it's restricted from those who can't watch it, because they've even been trying to include monetization more and more into age restricted stuff. So they are trying to work in the favor of the creator a little bit there, whilst being conscious of their user base.
Yep. And I've had stuff that I've age restricted just because, when talking about legal, sometimes the content of a particular case is really and truly not appropriate. And I don't want people watching it either. I tend to look for sponsorships for those videos. But you can tell sometimes, depending on what you're putting up, if it needs to be age restricted or not.
Got one here. I'm from Canada, and public domain vintage music. I use public domain vintage music in videos. Content is public domain in Canada. Content is public domain in Canada earlier than the US. Is it safer to only use music that's public domain in the US?
I think this is a problem with YouTube is a global video platform. So unless YouTube was going to allow tip boxes for every single country and their particular laws and rules on viewing public domain content, it would just turn it into a bit of a mess in the back end. So, I mean, I'm going to default to the US laws here, but
because it might get restricted in the US and not get restricted in Canada.
Possibly,
and that will happen sometimes with copyrighted works. It'll get restricted by country. And it could get restricted just in the US and not, that's what I just said, not get restricted in Canada. But it depends on the goal. Again, if the goal is to find background music for your video, YouTube has a library for that. If your goal is to give commentary on that, then it's probably not going to be as much of a copyright issue if you're using it for commentary, but that means you might not be monetized. I talk about Twins the New Trend. They're YouTube creators who do live reacts to music videos. I don't think any of their content is monetized, because I think that monetization goes to the creators. It is using other people's copyrighted works, but it's reaction videos. So the monetization versus legality, illegality are two kind of separate components of that analysis. So it depends on the goal.
I would also add as well here, just going back to the spirit of YouTube, in that it's designed to promote creators and their original content. And I'm not necessarily saying that this channel is doing this, but when people have a concept of, I'm going to use this Creative Commons content because I know I can use it on YouTube and monetize it. Maybe you can, but again, just thinking back to, you spent an hour just using somebody else's content because you're allowed to, versus creators who spend hours and hours putting all of their knowledge and passion into creating these original pieces of work. That, from a personal point of view, just irks me a little bit.
So this question, just the idea of this makes me laugh. What if Marvel doesn't like Rob and they tell him to take down all his helmets?
Well, he purchased them.
Yeah. I did actually do a video about this when YouTube, well, Article 13 was becoming a thing. Does anybody remember that?
Very
it's like net. It's like I remember this about net neutrality as well, where people were freaking out about it and the massive impact it was going to have, and then nothing happened. And then it was the same a little bit with Article 13, and it's been the same a little bit with the FTC and COPPA. In that, really, how has it affected the YouTube platform? And it doesn't really. Maybe it's affected 0.01% of creators. Well, yeah, I'll take them down, and then I'll put other masks up there. I don't have a problem with that.
A lot of intellectual property out there that likes to make toys and make money off of them.
Yeah, I've got lots of Lego I can put in these shelves.
It's free advertising for them. That's kind of like, what if Mojang decides, hey, we're tired of these Minecrafters playing our game on YouTube? They can do that, but people have sold a lot of copies of Minecraft, unknown amounts of Minecraft, through their YouTube videos.
Tell me about it, because I have a 9-year-old who's like, I need this, I need that expansion. There's some new expansion that we just bought that's like, I don't know, oceans and stuff. I don't understand. But every time he watches his favorite YouTubers play games, I end up buying more shit. It's absolute. The power of persuasion on YouTube is very high. My older son watches less annoying YouTubers than my younger son, but in that younger group, the screaming is a thing in the gaming reacts kind of community. But yes, they could tell people to stop, but will they is a question. It's different than like watching Real Housewives or a TV show where you see a hat blurred out because it has Nike on it and they don't have the rights to use it. Will that come to YouTube? I don't know if brands are that bothered, but perhaps. I mean, we saw Nike go after it with the Satan shoes, saying no, we don't want our trademark associated that way, and brands are allowed to try to protect trademark rights that way.
To be honest, I'd like to put more, I guess, YouTube memorabilia on those shelves, but other than the play buttons, I can't, and the subscribe pillows, I haven't got anything. So if anybody has any ideas of what I should put in there, then, tastefully, please.
I have old cameras. I have old cameras there.
But just a little bit. We're a bit too small. I need something that's quite sizable to fit in there.
All I got is small stuff. Everything's small.
I'm not going to make jokes. I'm not going to make
everything on my shelf is small, Emily. I gestured.
People are understanding why my content gets age restricted.
There's something small and glowing in the background there, Den. You might want to check that out. You might want to go see a doctor.
Oh. Well, thanks.
We've done that. Yeah. So I saw a question about taxes.
Okay. Let me try and catch up here. I'm mad at you guys right now.
Bring it back in. What?
Where do you know who it was? Okay,
Mayo Holly.
Oh, okay, I got it. How much do I need to make before you start paying tax? How much do you need to make?
In the U.S., generally, it's about $600. I believe is the threshold that you pay taxes on.
If they catch you.
Dan's gone off script here.
Dan,
I'm kidding.
Can I give you an example?
Yes,
we're going to give an example. So independent contractor laws have been cracking down all over the U.S. States like California kind of leading the charge on really restricting what is considered an independent contractor. So Bro lives in Arizona and writes movie scripts or helps write movie scripts for movie companies in California. He pays his taxes in Arizona, but does not pay state income taxes in California and never files those taxes. 8 years later, the franchise tax board is like, yo, we see that you've made some money. You've derived some income from these lovely companies here in the fine state of California, but we don't see where you actually paid us our taxes for that money that you earned. You need to go ahead and pay the man. And he's like, it's been 8 years. You can't just come up in here and try to get my taxes plus interest plus penalties and fees. here's what the court said. The court said, because you did not ever file the taxes, the statute of limitations never started, so that they can come
Wow.
after you for as long as they like whenever they get caught up. So when we say file, even if it's just to start the statute of limitations so that they can't come after you years and years and years down the road, it makes sense, because technically you are supposed to file state income taxes in any state where you derive income. Now, YouTube is a little different on that about whether you are deriving income from California, because YouTube is paying it out as royalties, thankfully. Otherwise, everybody would be paying state income taxes on their YouTube. State of California, cover your ears. This is not something you are going to do. Do not start trying to charge it because it's a California-based company. YouTube, move to Texas. But anyway, they pay it as royalties. But if that ever changed, we could see a situation where all YouTubers are deriving income from California, and California tries to go after state income tax for that. So I say, once you hit the threshold, file it, even if it's just to start the clock.
Yeah, I think just to add from an international perspective, this is going to differ for every country. You probably want to do just like a general Google search for personal income tax allowance of some kind, because I think in most countries you're able to earn a certain amount before paying any taxes. Like I think in the UK it's like £12,000 before you start to pay income tax. So do the research, because YouTube is not going to help you in any way, shape, or form. They'll just give you the money, and then you need to declare it whatever country you're in.
Also, federal and state in the US can be different on those thresholds for when you need to pay state income taxes versus federal income taxes.
Pay your taxes.
No, now it's changed this tune.
Strategize your taxes and pay what you are required to.
If you can, the easiest thing to do is get a CPA. Get some help. Once you get into the world, I'm not even talking YouTube anymore. Once you're in the world of freelance, if you're doing things as a contractor, you need some help. Like, unless you just know the tax code, I would highly recommend getting professional help with your taxes.
There are great company. I use Bench Accounting, which is actually a Canadian-based company that has literally streamlined the process, and they're almost like app-based accountants for your business of any size. They've got a great onboarding process. It makes it really easy to work with CPAs that are familiar with your country. I know they work with the US and Canada. I don't know what other countries they work with, but Bench Accounting has been fantastic, and I recommend a lot of my clients to them, because then you've got somewhere to go and get that help. And it's not terribly expensive. More money, more problems. Look, Biggie said it, and people were like, oh, more money, more problems. No, it's actually true. You have to think of these things as you start making money. And when I say income on YouTube can swing very, very quickly, my income on YouTube swung dramatically inside of a month. So when I started looking at what my AdSense was doing mid-month, I'm like, oh shit. I need to plan for this differently, because I was not anticipating making this amount of money. It can happen very, very quickly. That's a blessing. Just be prepared for it, because if you don't put money aside for taxes, you can very quickly find yourself with not enough money.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm going to bring up this question because I'm just fascinated by it. Next video, please do a tutorial on linking Turnip to YouTube. I'm not even getting any views from both. I can't help you with that because I don't know what it is.
And I don't think Turnips like YouTube. I think that that's not their preferred method of watching videos. I think Turnips, they seem like Twitter people to me.
What is this? Am I completely?
No, I don't know. I'm talking about the vegetable.
Yeah.
It feels like we've got to defend the indefensible question here.
I don't know what turnip is, Jeff. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you for that, Rob.
Yeah, you're welcome. I thought I'd go a little left field with the last question.
We are at 2 hours. So
do Rob's defend the indefensible. Make him do a 30-second run.
All right, Rob. We're gonna put you on the spot here.
We're gonna end with you.
Just to let you know, Dan. I did have a couple for you. I'll let you know what they are, but you don't have to defend them. It was going to be I prefer dogs to cats, and another one was going to be the Epic game store has been the best thing that's ever happened in the gaming industry, because Dan thought you would hate trying to defend that, but we didn't get around to it.
It's fine.
All right,
That's
here we
good.
go.
All right, I wanted to write it down here, so let me actually.
I'll read out what I have to do then. So, Rob must vigorously support a theme for 30 seconds that is either distasteful, politically incorrect, plainly wrong, self-derisory, or entirely contrary to the creator's known opinions. And I brought this on myself, so I'm ready for this.
Wait, who's got the timer? Am I timing it? I can time it.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Is that it? Is that my defend the indefensible? I
Emily
agree.
thought of it.
I think Star Trek is fantastic. I'm a closet Star Trek fan.
Okay, all right.
I'll tell you, like,
no,
this is it.
we don't want to hear
Deep
this.
Space Nine. If you watch the last 2 seasons,
I already started the timer.
Nine, they are fantastic. Like, it's not even really like Star Trek. It's like a war campaign. It's incredible. To be honest, Star Wars 1, 2, 3, 8, and 9 are all appalling. Like, you only want to watch the middle series of Star Wars films. So yeah, I just buy these helmets because they're available on Amazon cheap. So unfortunately, that was easy to defend.
You played yourself, Emily.
I did play myself.
Well, that was great.
You made some solid points for Star Trek. Star Wars is better.
I mean, I might put some Star Trek models on my shelves now, actually.
I think now you have to.
Yeah.
I grew up watching The Next Generation. I love it. And the acting in those programs is just phenomenal.
All right, Dan, you're going to have to pick one next.
Fun fact, Patrick Stewart was born 5 miles away from where I was born because he is a Yorkshire lad.
Very nice. Next time, we're going to ask you to defend putting raisins in food.
I shook his hand when I graduated from university because he was the vice chancellor. I could go on. I can defend this for like the next 2 hours if you want.
I don't have anything. I'm just enjoying
the Star Trekkiness.
Yeah.
The chat hasn't even turned yet.
I will say, if there is one episode of Star Trek that you want to watch, it's In the Pale Moonlight. Incredible episode of DS9. Anyone with me in the chat? Anyone?
Next live stream, we're talking about Doctor Who. That's it. We're gonna go all the way nerd.
I will do 2 hours on Doctor Who.
I will also do 2 hours on Doctor Who.
Now, is this everything from like the mid 2000s when it was rebooted? Or
see, I'm kind of a new Who.
Yeah, me too.
Not as much of the old Who. So
I'm checking on something real quick before we go. I wanted to see if Dan had thought of something for you to. He's let me know.
Okay.
Oh dear.
He's not. He doesn't have light shining in his eyes and a timer ticking down until his next meeting. So less pressure.
I see him going, what is that? What are we doing? We're at 2 hours.
I'm just going to copy and paste this. I'm not quite sure what it means, but he must know something that I don't. So,
all right.
All right. Oh, here we go. This is I like this one better.
Right. Okay.
All right. He's throwing a bunch at me. Thank you.
Oh dear.
He's awesome. All right. Here we go.
Well, this is entirely true because let's face it, my educational content is appalling. I still don't even know how to present in front of camera. I use the same music on every single YouTube video. I use the same graphics. I don't change anything. I mostly copy other people's ideas, and yet somehow I have grown this channel to whatever the size it is. You are right. YouTube is complete luck. As I often suggest, just make Minecraft shorts because in some lucky way, you'll get millions of subscribers and billions of views. YouTube is just a gamble. Like, just toss some dice across the craps table and whatever number comes up, make a video on it. There we go.
30 seconds.
I feel like he meant all of that. So
I do too.
I do.
That was with conviction.
To be honest, sometimes I'll be honest about this. Like, I think if I started a YouTube educational channel today and like nobody was aware of who I was, I think I would really struggle to grow an education channel. I think there are other educators out there who I think in terms of editing and style are far more talented. One person I'm going to suggest actually is a channel called, what they call it, something like Film Booth. They're creating some incredible videos about YouTube education, and they're barely getting 1,000 subscribers. In fact, I'm going to
Business Film Booth.
Business Film Booth. We've had them on Twitter, not podcast.
Tube Talk.
Tube Talk, yeah. Business Film Booth.
We've had them on Twitter.
Film Booth they're now called. If you just watch some of their most recent videos, the amount of effort he's putting into this content is crazy. And look, he's getting 600 views. So
And that's the thing with some smaller channels is they really do put an amazing amount of effort and skill into creating videos. The amount of views on a video definitely don't judge the quality of the video.
Yeah, it is just, it's a case of you've done well once and you've got some positive signals. Now do it again and again and again. At some point, you know, a little bit like your channel, Emily, there's an inflection point where all of a sudden things are going to start tilting in your favor. And even though you're putting in the same amount of work and effort, you're being rewarded far more. I talk about you almost put in, you're paying into this YouTube bank, but you don't know when it's going to pay out back to you. And it's different for every creator.
Yeah, it feels like a precipice where you're really pushing it up the hill, and then at some point you crest the hill, and then it starts rolling down and picking up speed, and you're doing the same. You're not even doing the same thing. It's starting to work for you, where you're not having to work as hard. And that's for discovery, not working as hard for discovery. I work harder on my content now because I'm putting out more of it, but I don't have to work as hard for the discovery because the reach is there, and YouTube has pushed my videos, and then other creators pick them up and push my videos, and then it just kind of compounds on itself. So there is a luck factor to YouTube, I think, but I also think you can increase your luck by continuing to show up.
I just worry about the luck conversation on YouTube because I think a lot of people who are struggling glom onto that. They kind of use that as their excuse as to why they're clearly not growing, because YouTube just doesn't like me. I just haven't, you know, I just got to keep doing this exact same thing that isn't working because I just got to get lucky. I haven't gotten the luck part yet. I got the rest of it down, just not the luck part.
No, because there's definitely that element of tweaking, right? You've got to continue to iterate and iterate and iterate to find exactly what combination hits well. And just replicating the same thing over and over and over is not what I found to work for my channel.
I think a good way to think about the luck would be you got to something before somebody else did. You know, that could be one way to think about it. You were just faster, which makes you lucky that they didn't think of it before you. You know, I just don't want people to hang on to that. I know when I was starting out, I certainly did, because that's all I was hearing from people. It's like, you just gotta, you know, YouTube is a luck game. I didn't know any better. I'm like, oh, okay. You know, keep doing the same thing and waiting and waiting and waiting.
To play devil's advocate a little bit, because of the size and scale of YouTube, there are always going to be exceptions to the general rule. Like, we're all advocating hard work is going to pay off and create quality content. But occasionally there are channels which just get millions of views and there's no explainable reason for it. And, you know, my answer to that is that's YouTube. It's not your YouTube journey. And if you always focus on these exceptions to the rules, and let them really affect you, then again, you just create a toxic creative mindset for your channel.
Just because it can happen that way doesn't mean it will. And it's kind of like buying a lottery ticket. You know, you can kind of get wrapped up in that. Like, well, it happened to them, so I'm just going to keep doing this and I'll get lucky. You know, keep trying stuff. Always experiment.
Yep. So with all of this being said, shall we agree that we'll all come up with 3 indefensibles for next time? Like maybe we should come up with 4 each so that we can do 2 for each person. So like I do all 2 for Dan, 2 for Emily. Emily, you do 2 for me and Dan. And that's if people want us to do it. But I enjoy it. I think I do too. I think we can get very good at it and very vindictive as well if you've got time to think about it.
I think 30 seconds is always a good exercise in how quick you can think on your feet about something that you haven't given much thought to. So absolutely.
All right, I'm taking off my live streaming gloves then.
All right. It's time. It's time.
It is time.
Yeah,
I'm just writing this down.
I'm done. I'm done.
I'm writing that down so I don't forget to come up with some defend the indefensible. So, all right, everybody. We do this every week. We come to you with some, Q&A after talking about a YouTube topic. And at the beginning of every month, the first Wednesday of every month, Emily joins us for a legal spin on the topic. So thank you for joining us for that. If you had any general YouTube questions, we did not get to them, please come back next week. And we will be doing this yet again. And of course, join us for channel audits on Tuesdays. You can learn a lot, even if you don't submit your own channel, just by watching, other channels, get some audits, get some insights. So thank you to Emily for being here.
Of course. Love being here with you guys.
Would you like to remind everybody where they can find you? And why does she go there right now?
It's at youtube.com/legal. That's where you can find Emily.
Wow.
Scandalous.
Wow.
Scandalous. The Emily D. Baker all over the YouTube. There are no boring law books. There are no custom suits. There isn't newscaster hair. There is legal commentary, a lot of sass, a lot of curse words, and a lot of pop culture. So if you are looking for the most entertaining legal commentator on YouTube, you can absolutely come on over theemilydbaker.com. We're almost at 129,000 subscribers. I'm looking at the back end analytics. I'm like, wow. So come on over, pop culture, legal commentary. We break down the law. We talk about the facts. We sometimes throw a little shade. It's fun. So I'm at the Emily D. Baker all over social media as well. If you need anything, happy to help.
And I would just add, from a creator education perspective, if you want to learn how to build a community, because we have a few hundred people watching this live stream, but Emily, you get thousands of people following your live streams, which is incredible for any channel, I think, of any size. I think even channels of 1 million subscribers will probably be happy with thousands of people watching. So, take notes if you're a creator trying to understand how to make a live stream community for your channel.
Yeah, we've created a thriving non-gaming live streaming community, and it's been really, really fun. So, I see Cattail.
She knows. She knows when I'm wrapping up any meeting, any live stream.
The paw nerd is ready. we have paw nerds on our channel, so it's actually a thing. I'm going to send you a paw nerd mug, Dan. You need one.
Oh, yes. I'll take 2.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thank you all, and we will see you next time.
Let's leave with this. Mr. Beast is a monster. And also, Logan Paul is a scourge of YouTube. And what else did we say? I can't remember.
We didn't. You just said
Star Trek is better than Star Wars. Yeah, that's what I said as well. Dan, cut me off.
All right.